Our next question comes from Lo Sung Zung Po, who says, does or would knowledge of human anatomy make one a better or more skilled fighter, or would it become a distraction? If so, how much or what would you have to know in order to be most efficient? Okay. I've studied human anatomy. I've taken anatomy classes. It was part of the curriculum of health and human performance, modern dance emphasis when I studied that in college. Does it make you worse at fighting? No, absolutely not. Does it make you better at fighting? No. What does it do? It gives you a bunch of jargon with which you can communicate ideas more efficiently with people who are also well versed in that jargon. So, for example, if you are a coach and you know what the bones of the arm and the bones of the hand are called, and the bones of the elbow, like you know, for example, this point of the elbow right there is called the olecranon, and you know that we have the radius and the ulna there, the bones of the wrist, and we've got the metacarpals here. Okay. And we're trying to teach people how to throw a certain type of strike, right? Maybe a strike with our forearm. And you can say, strike with your radius, strike with your ulna, something like that. And somebody well-versed in that jargon would say, oh, I know exactly what that means. And then boom, or boom, right? Or strike with your olecranon, boom, as opposed to striking with a different bone or a different bone process. So, yeah, having a common language is really super useful as far as teaching goes. Now, if I'm well-versed in anatomical terms and my students are not, and I start saying things about the xiphoid process or the iliopsoas or something like that, and my students start giving me this look like, I don't know what those things are, this isn't helping, that's not good teaching. That's not helping anybody. That may be making the coach feel good about themselves. Ooh, look at all those $5 college words I can rifle out through my mouth. Makes me feel smart. When in reality, it's what an idiot savant would do. Now, if you teach your students, these are the metacarpals, this is the olecranon, right? And you all get on the same page, then that's a different story, right? Pick a language and stick to it. I'm a big fan of doing that. So I always kind of find it funny when people teach martial arts techniques and they use a Japanese name for one technique that has a very simple, much easier to pronounce English name. And then they will use an English name for a different technique. And I'll be like, well, wait a minute, why? Why are we calling that one an ashigarami and when we could just call it a footlock, and then everybody in the room knows what we're talking about? There's definitely some snobbery in certain martial arts circles as far as language and jargon and foreign terms go. But the most effective form of coaching, as far as verbal communication, make sure you pick a language and stick to it, and everybody understands what's being said. Next question. Our next question comes from Henry Durner. He says, a while back you did a video about a unscrupulous self-defense ad that kept popping up on YouTube. Now there's a new ad popping up on a lot of martial arts related videos, how to get your BJJ black belt in 3 years and be as good as some of the best in the world. The ultimate how-to guide from Lloyd Irvin, no less. I wondered if you could look into that the same way you looked into John Black. Okay, I don't have to look into it because I already know, man. All right, Lloyd Irvin had some legal issues a while back. Now, he's a legit grappling instructor. He's coached a number of legit athletes. All right, that's not in question here. Lloyd Irvin's book, the Grappling Game Plan, it's a solid book. I've read it. It's got good information in there. All right, will it turn you into a black belt within 3 years? No. No, it will not. Does it have good advice? Yes. Now here's the issue, and here's something I've been wanting to bring up for a while, which is I wish YouTube would give YouTubers the authority to say no to specific advertisers. And if I was given that choice, I would say no to Lloyd Irvin's ads. And here's why. The man is a rapist. The man's students, some of them, were rapists. And Lloyd was complicit in attempting to cover that up. This is not news. This is old news. If you're not familiar with this story, man, look it up. Lloyd Irvin rape scandal. There was a woman in his gym, and a number of his students gang raped her, and Lloyd tried to cover it up. A number of years earlier, Lloyd himself was involved in a gang rape. He got off scot-free. I do not want to support rapists. I do not want to give airtime to rapists. I do not want to financially support rapists. I do not want to be financially supported by rapists. So, man, YouTube, if anybody out there has the power to make this happen, please give YouTube creators the chance to review potential ads that may be run on their channels. Now I know we have the power to turn off the ads, to demonetize these videos, and to not make money off of YouTube. We have that opportunity. But there are some really great products and services out there. There are some good ones that use YouTube as an advertising platform. And it's a great platform for small businesses to get the word out there in ways that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. It's a great platform for YouTubers themselves to advertise what they're doing, to advertise projects that they have coming up. It is a fantastic program. And I don't want to see it go away. And I don't simply want to turn off the ads. But I do not want to support rapists and charlatans and people like this. And I hope you don't either. Next question. Our next question comes from Lynx Factor 12, who says, "Hey coach, I'm a single father in my 30s with an 8-year-old son. I'm looking to regain my physique that I had in my early 20s from Taekwondo tournaments. I have chosen to learn MMA and took the first step last year by starting a no-gi BJJ program with my son. What can I supplement the BJJ training with to become an all-rounded fighter that my son can also join in on? P.S. I also lift heavy weights 4 days a week, but my son can't join in on that with me for a few years." Okay. You know, my first thought as I was reading through that was, take your son weightlifting with you, in spite of the fact that you just said, I can't do that. Now, maybe there's like a policy at the gym you train at that kids aren't allowed, and if that's the case, then okay, feel free to ignore what I'm about to say. But take your son and teach him technique, but without the weights. I do this with my daughters. So I've taken them to the gym, and with a wooden stick, I teach them lifting technique, squats, deadlifts, cleans, Olympic lifts. And they do this with a stick, and they have a lot of fun doing what daddy's doing. And their technique, it's on point now. They know the lifts. So when they are mature enough, we can actually put some plates on there and, get those girls strong, right? So if your gym allows that, get a stick, with no weight on it. Teach your son the proper form. And then he's going to have a massive advantage when he's physically mature enough to put some weight on there. Now, aside from weightlifting, because again, I think that's a fantastic activity for fathers and children to do together. If you want to supplement your MMA training, no gi BJJ, that's awesome. That's an excellent starting point. Add some striking into that. Try a boxing class. Try a kickboxing class. Try a Muay Thai class. Especially if it's one that allows an opportunity for your son to be in the room there with you. See what daddy's doing. Be inspired by you. And yeah. Hope that helps. Next question. All right, our last question comes from Snake Pliskin. Snake says, unrelated question number 8, I think. Who would win in this triple team fight, all three against each other? Adam West and Burt Ward as Batman and Robin versus Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy as James Tiberius Kirk and Mr. Spock versus Diana Rigg and whatever that guy's name was, can't remember at the moment, as Emma Peel and John Steed. Now, I have to admit, I don't know who Emma Peel and John Steed are. I don't know who Diana Rigg or that one guy whose name I can't remember was either. But I do know who Kirk and Spock and Batman and Robin were. Okay. Now, my gut tells me go with the team with Spock on it. And I'll tell you why. You might think, well, there's Batman in one corner. Batman is a master of martial arts. Batman's never been beaten. Well, he has, but most of the time Batman wins. That's Batman's real superpower, is that most of the time Batman wins, right? But Spock beat Wolverine in the Star Trek X-Men crossover. Yes, Spock beat Wolverine with the Vulcan neck pinch, one of the most overpowered moves. The reason that the Vulcan neck pinch never became boring is that they used that so well and so sparingly throughout the series. It wasn't just this MacGuffin where, Spock could just beat everybody, but he could. But often he chose not to because, Spock wasn't just about inflicting random violence on people, but he totally could if he chose to. Our Vulcans are much stronger, much more resilient than humans. Even though they might look scrawny like wimpy little nerds, they're much, much stronger than humans. Much more resilient, much more durable. Okay. And that, plus the Vulcan neck pinch. Oh, man. Batman and Robin are going down. And you might think, well, Batman has his batarangs. You know what Kirk and Spock have? Phasers that can be set anywhere from stun to kill. And light speed phaser beams are much faster than batarangs. And you might think, oh, well, Batman would hide in the shadows. Oh, Kirk and Spock have tricorders. They can detect life, even if you can't see it. Batman would have nowhere to hide, I'm sorry to say. Now, maybe those other two you mentioned, maybe they're better than Spock and Kirk, but I'm putting my money on Spock. Spock alone wins this fight. What does Kirk do, though? Okay? Here's how Kirk comes in. Here's how Kirk plus Spock makes this a completely overpowered duo in this event. So, Kirk goes out there and he begins to engage Batman and Robin and the other two with his double-fisted hammer fist, and he tries to grab him, do the Captain Kirk judo throw, the tomoe nage. He does the judo chops to the neck. He does the flying double-legged drop kick, axe handles, all that. Man, my nose is itching here. Okay. That's what happens when you have nose hair that grows at the same rate as your facial hair. It itches. Oh. But let's get this done. All right, Spock is sneaking up behind while James Tiberius Kirk is distracting the others with his distracting Kirk Fu. And while they are tied up, Spock gets the Vulcan neck pinch on every last one of them. And down they go. Spock by knockout. Yes, the Vulcan neck pinch would technically be considered a knockout since it renders a victim unconscious. Unconsciousness is a knockout. There you go. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.